is Starry Ari's ASMR. I am Ari, and today I am set up in my kitchen because I would like to write out a few recipe cards. So over here I have a few printed recipes that we've tried out, we know that we like, we've done a few times, and now I want to put them on a recipe card so that we can keep them in our little recipe box here. So this is our recipe box. This is a lovely wooden box, and we just keep this on the top of our refrigerator. And I love it. I think that it is so cute and classic. And inside we have quite a few recipe cards. These ones here are like mainly used recipes, and then we have some blank cards in the back here. And I really like having these cards. So this is the front of one. This is for our banana bread muffins. And this side has the ingredients. And you can also fill out like serving size, prep time, cook time. I usually don't do that. And then this is the side with the directions or the instructions. And I really love this recipe box because it has the kind of classic line there where you can just fit the card right in, and then you can just stand it up, and then you can read whatever you need to read really easily on the counter. And it kind of helps keep your cards a little bit cleaner, as you can see. I mean, sometimes they've got some stains and stuff that happens anyways, but generally kind of makes it a little bit nicer. So, quick disclaimer, because we are in my kitchen, we are going to have a little bit of extra background noise. I'm right by our sliding glass door, so there's probably going to be some birds chirping. My dog also is napping down here, and she just got up, so you might hear her kind of get up and rearrange every now and then, or sigh because her life is so stressful. So let me show you the recipes that I have today. I don't know if I'm going to write out all of them. We'll kind of see how long it takes me. So we have this first one here, and this is for Instant Pot chili. Not a particularly healthy meal, but it's one that we really love. And we love to do honey cornbread with this one. And I do think that I want to write where I got the recipes from. And this is one that we've actually used for years. And the author says Sarah Welsh, but I'm pretty sure the actual like the food blog or recipe site is Dinner at the Zoo or something like that. So I imagine if I looked up Instant Pot chili and Sarah Welch, that the correct one would probably come up. So I'm not too sure whether I might just put her author or the author name. And then we have our ingredients listed here, and then we have some instructions, and let's do go onto the back page a little bit. And now this one does have some nutrition information, so I'm not too sure. I don't think our recipe cards really have a great spot to be able to fill that out. And luckily, my husband and I don't have any particular health concerns that we're largely looking out for. And we're fairly active, so maybe, I'll probably keep these paper copies somewhere, but I just don't want to have them be our kind of regularly used items. I've had to reprint this one in particular on our counter while we're cooking and it gets water on it or just food or whatever, and I just don't like it. So I would like to have these in a recipe card format. So that is our Instant Pot chili. And then we also have this Instant Pot chicken pot pie soup. Now this one is dairy-free, gluten-free, plus Whole30. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not entirely educated on that, but this one is really, really tasty and we love it. And we actually don't have it gluten-free because we don't necessarily need that in our household. And we add biscuits. So we make the soup as is, and then we bake up some biscuits, and then we will dip our biscuits in the soup, and it's really, really delicious. And we really like this one. It's really tasty, and especially for something that's like a dairy-free soup, it's really great. My husband is lactose intolerant, so we try to do dairy-free where we can. And so we really, really liked this one. We started this one, I think we tried it for the first time this last winter, and we've done it, I mean, at least every other month, but honestly, I think probably every month since. We really love it. So we've got that one, and that one does have some directions on the back as well. There are little like notes. I'm probably going to read through them and see if there's anything interesting that I want to keep, but for the most part, I think that I'll probably just stick with the ingredients and the instructions. It's another one of those where it has the author name, but not the recipe. Oh, it does. Okay, so it has the recipe blog or the website, Savory Lotus. So I'm probably gonna write Savory Lotus on this recipe card. So we have that, our chicken pot pie soup, and then this is actually a new one to us, and this is the homemade strawberry sauce topping, and this was from Sally's Baking Addiction, and I love Sally's Baking Addiction for my cookie recipes. Most of my cookie recipes are from that website, and we wanted to try and make a strawberry sauce for, I think it was French toast that we were making, and we had some frozen strawberries, and I'd found this recipe super, super simple, but it worked out really nicely. It was super tasty, and we really liked it. So I want to write this out and have a little dessert card for it. And this one I accidentally printed 2 pages rather than front and back. So this one has the 2 pages. And then another one that I have here is shrimp tacos. We love shrimp in our household so much. And we tried this shrimp taco recipe a couple years ago, I think. And we've just really loved it. It's just been really tasty. It's so easy to do. And we usually do some rice, like a bed of rice. We do the shrimp. We get salsa, lettuce, avocado, and sometimes we'll whip up like a crema. And it's just really, really tasty. We've done like a chipotle crema. It's really good. So we really like this, and we've made it quite a few times, and I'm kind of sick of having to dig out the paper for it. So I just want to make a nice and easy recipe card. And then kind of in the dessert realm as well, this was the recipe for Cadbury egg cookies. And this recipe was from 2 peas in their pod. And I made these cookies around Easter time, and I actually made a video on them, and I loved them so much. And my husband brought in some of our extra cookies into work, and all of his coworkers absolutely loved them, and they were so stinking cute for Easter with the pastel colors. I adored these cookies, and I love Cadbury eggs anyways. Cadbury mini eggs. So I really liked this recipe, and I definitely definitely want to keep it for next year. So this is front and back, with just some tips on the back, so we'll see if I need that. These are the recipes that I would like to at least start writing out today, and then we will kind of, I might do a second video. I also have other recipes. These were just kind of the main pressing ones that I want to write down, but we definitely have lots of other recipes that we have to look up every time, and it would just be so nice to not have to do that. So I'm going to set this off to the side. We'll put it over here. And then let me first grab out a recipe card. I also usually have them separated, so behind this kind of blue-green tab is our savory recipes, and then behind this pink strawberry tab is our sweet dessert recipes. So let me grab a blank card from the back here. Actually, maybe I'll grab a few. I don't remember exactly how many recipes I have, but I'm going to grab out 4 recipe cards. I think I might have 5, but we'll grab another one if I need it. And I'm going to put that up off to the side. And here are the blank recipe cards. Now, in the past, I have been really hesitant to write out a recipe on these cards without writing it on a notebook sheet of paper first to figure out exactly how I want to write things. But we have so many extra recipe cards that for now I'm okay. If I make a mistake, I can just scribble it out. I am using pen. I prefer to write in pen than pencil, but we'll just kind of go with it. And if I make too big of a mistake, I can just get another card. It'll be okay. So let's start with one card here. And I'm going to start with my Instant Pot chili. So I'm going to write Instant Pot chili. I think my shadows are kind of everywhere. It's kind of a weird time of day for me to be doing this, but I hope that's okay. So we've got our Instant Pot chili. And then I think I'm going to write, maybe I will just put the author, Sarah Welch. I'm pretty sure that this recipe came from, I think it's called Dinner at the Zoo, but I'm not entirely 100% sure, so I'm just going to write the regular author's name. And then let's go down the list of the ingredients. And there are some things that, we need olive oil, but we always have olive oil, and I don't know if I necessarily want to write it. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll just do it. So we need 2 teaspoons olive oil. We need 2 pounds ground beef. And then in parentheses, I'm going to write 90% lean. And then we need 1 onion. Finely diced. And then we need 1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic. I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons garlic. snoring over there. And then we need 28 ounces canned diced tomatoes. And then we need 3 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce. And for some reason here where I'm at, it is harder to find, like obviously this would be like, 24 ounces, but we don't get like 24-ounce cans of tomato sauce. So I am going to write 3 8-ounce cans. Tomato sauce. Okay, and then we need 3/4 of a cup of beef broth. 3/4 cup beef broth. And then we need, we're kind of going on to seasonings, but we have beans and stuff down here. I'm going to do these beans next, and then I'll come back up and do all the seasonings together. So we need a 15-ounce can kidney beans. And then I am going to say drained, and then I'm going to know that that means rinsed as well, because beans, we kind of always rinse them. And then I also need a 15-ounce can of pinto beans. And then we have all of these lovely seasonings. So let me go ahead and write those out. So first we need 2 tablespoons of chili powder. 2 tablespoons chili powder. And then we need 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. And then we need 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. I'm just going to put paprika because we just use whatever paprika we have. We usually don't get different types of smoke or sweet paprika. So 2 teaspoons of paprika. And we actually never do cocoa powder. I know that's a thing, but I'm not a huge fan of my chili with cocoa powder, so we just don't. And then I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar. My husband really likes, is it called Cincinnati chili? It's like the chili with it's like spaghetti noodles and chili powder or cocoa powder or something like that. I am not a fan. Okay, so we did granulated sugar. So now we need 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. 1.5 teaspoons salt. We need 3/4 teaspoon of ground pepper. 3/4 teaspoon ground pepper. Alright. And then they do include toppings here, but these are kind of toppings that we always have, and sometimes we don't do fresh tomatoes or fresh green onions, and we just kind of mix and match. So I'm going to leave that off, especially just for the sake of space. So I think that we're pretty much done with the ingredients for this. Let's flip it over and do the directions. So I think what I'm going to do is read through each step and kind of figure out exactly what is most important in that step, because obviously I don't think I have enough space to like write it down exactly as it is. So also there's some things that like we use our Instant Pot so much that I don't really need these like additional instructions for our Instant Pot. So I'm going to maybe just write saute ground beef in Instant Pot until browned. Saute ground beef in, also I'm just going to write Instapot instead of Instant Pot, in Instapot until browned. And then since we're using ground beef, like I know that I'm going to be like breaking it up in the pot. We're not just going to be like cooking it as a layer or something, so I'm just going to leave that as is. Okay, so we're going to saute the ground beef in Instapot until browned. And then step 2, we're going to add the onion and cook for 3 more minutes or until softened. So I'm going to say add the onion and cook until softened. And the next step is pretty much adding everything else to the pot. I'm gonna double check. Yeah, so that's pretty much just adding everything else to the pot. So I'm going to write add remaining ingredients to the pot, just because I find it kind of silly for me to like list out all of these ingredients if this is literally just the rest of the ingredients. So, and then again, I mean, I know that I need to add the olive oil to the pot before I saute the ground beef, so like there are some things like that that are just kind of a given for us, so I'm not even going to write them down. And then let's see, so step number 4 says turn the Instant Pot to the chili/beans setting and place the lid on the pot. Cook for 20 minutes. Release the pressure either manually or allow it to release naturally. So what I am going to write is, I think I'm just going to write cook for 20 minutes on the chili/beans setting. Minutes on the chili/beans setting. And then release the pressure either manually or allow it to release naturally. Now I think we usually do about like a 5-minute natural release, and then we just release the rest manually, but that's kind of our own thing, so I'm going to add that in here. Allow and then release manually. Okay. Once we have done that, I think, so the next step it just says is serve with assorted toppings. And I just now realized that we usually have cornbread with this, and maybe I should write like separate instructions because like we always have cornbread with our chili. So maybe I could have put like the chili recipe here and then cornbread below, but I think it's generally okay. I think we'll remember. And then eventually, like next time we make this, if I think that I want to make sure that we're like, usually we put the chili in the Instapot and get that going, and then we make the cornbread. And usually, timing wise, that kind of works out really nicely. But I think I'm just gonna leave it as this for now. So this is our final recipe card. This one is actually pretty short, but just because of the chili, we're like throwing everything in and going, and that's what we love about the Instapot so much. So here's our first recipe card, and our first recipe all done. So I'm going to set this one up off to the side and out of the way, and then this one here. This is the Instant Pot Chicken Pot Pie Soup. And let's see. I think I wrote out Instant Pot on the other recipe, but we just always say Instapot because I think that's like the brand of the pot. It's like saying like Tupperware, like it's for us, it's just the Instapot. So I'm gonna write Instapot Chicken Pot Pie Soup. Chicken pot pie soup. And then this one has the author, but I thought it also had the website, and it does. So Savory Lotus. So in parentheses, I'm going to write Savory Lotus. Okay. Now let's take a look at the ingredients. So these are the ingredients, and then as you can see here, this recipe does call for some fresh herbs, and we never use fresh herbs. We always end up having dried herbs of these. We always end up having dried thyme and dried rosemary, so we would rather just use that than, you know, spend the money on fresh herbs that we might not use all of. So this just kind of works best for us. So we have the conversions from fresh to dried over here already. And as you can see, I wrote biscuits on the ingredients list because there were a few times where we were forgetting to pick up the biscuits and my husband had to run out while I started cooking because we were like, we need biscuits. So let's go ahead and start with the ingredients. So I need 2 teaspoons of butter. We just use butter. Well, actually it's like margarine, but we just call it butter. And then we need 2 pounds. I'm going to write chicken. I always assume that it is boneless, skinless chicken breasts unless it says otherwise. And then I kind of want to write cubed here, and then I think I'll just note that it's obviously cubed into bite-sized pieces. And then this always calls for half a yellow onion. We just use a full yellow onion. So I'm going to write 1 yellow onion chopped. And then we need 3 celery stalks, also chopped. Celery stalks. Oh, I accidentally wrote the wrong type of stalks. Wonder if I can fix that at all. It looks a little funky, but it's a little bit better. Okay, so 3 celery stalks chopped. Alright, then we need 4 to 5 carrots sliced into rounds. 4 to 5 carrots. And I'm just going to write round slices. Oh gosh. Maybe I'll just write round to sliced. It doesn't really make sense, but I keep messing up on this card. Okay, so then we need 1 1/2 pounds of Yukon or red potatoes. So I'm going to write 1.5 pounds. I think we end up usually using Yukon potatoes. So I'm going to write Yukon potatoes. And then we do need those diced. And then we need 3 cloves of garlic minced. 3 cloves garlic minced. And then we need 3 cups of broth, and sometimes we use chicken broth, sometimes we use vegetable broth, so I'm just going to leave it up to how we're feeling that moment. And so I'm going to write 3 cups broth. And then we need these seasonings. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of thyme, and then we need 1/2 teaspoon of rosemary, 1/2 teaspoon rosemary. We need 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage, 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage, 1 bay leaf, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of full fat coconut milk, and we have actually found a plant-based whole milk alternative that is actually quite good, and we've used it a few times. So I'm going to write 1 cup whole milk alternative. I'm also just generally not a huge fan of coconut milk, so this just kind of works better for us. We need 2 cups of baby spinach, 2 cups baby spinach, and then we need black pepper and fresh parsley for garnish. We honestly usually skip the parsley, or sometimes we'll just add parsley in with the other seasonings like dried parsley, and it kind of works for us. So I'm just gonna write black pepper to taste, and then we need biscuits. So I think I'm just going to write maybe underneath this one, because it's like a continuation. I'm gonna write So we have now got our ingredients all listed out. Let's kind of ignore the mistakes. And then let's flip it over and let's start with the directions. So this first one is turn Instant Pot to saute and melt fat of choice. Once fat is hot, saute chicken pieces for 3 to 4 minutes until outsides are all white. Pull out of the Instant Pot and set aside. They do abbreviate Instant Pot as IP, and I kind of like that, especially for my directions cards, because sometimes it can get pretty crowded. So I'm going to write the first step. Saute chicken in butter for 3 to 4 minutes until outsides are all white. And then I'm just going to write set aside. Okay, and then usually we end up having, like, we just kind of add all of the butter at the beginning, and then we just kind of saute the rest of it in whatever is left. So I'm going to write saute onion, celery, and carrots until onions begin to soften, about 3 to 4 minutes. Carrots until onions begin to soften. I'm not going to write the 3 to 4 minutes. And then it says add garlic and cook for another minute. I think I'm just going to have that be the next step. Add garlic and cook for another minute. And then this says turn off saute mode. Turn off saute. Okay. So now we are going to add in chicken, potatoes, broth, herbs, and salt. And this is not the rest of the ingredients because we add in the whole milk later on. So I can't say add in rest of the ingredients like we did for the chili. So I need to write add in chicken, potatoes, broth, herbs, and salt. And it says lock lid on Instapot and turn the vent valve to sealing. That's just kind of a given. I'm not going to write that. Cook on high pressure for 8 minutes, then quick release the pressure. Okay, so I'm going to write, say, cook on high pressure for 8 minutes. Then quick release. So then it says carefully scoop out about a cup of cooked potatoes and in a blender puree with 1 cup of coconut milk. Gently stir the creamy mixture back into the soup along with the chopped greens. Allow greens to wilt for a couple of minutes. I think that's meant to say for a couple of minutes in the hot soup. So sometimes we do this, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're a little cheeky and we just add the milk, but I'm going to let futurists choose which option we want, and I am at least going to write this step out. So I'm just going to say blend 1 cup of cooked potatoes with 1 cup of whole milk. Gently stir mixture into soup. And then this is along with chopped greens. I think we only have the spinach. Yeah. Sometimes we chop it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes, since it's baby spinach, it's already small enough that sometimes we just throw it in. Get so crazy. Alright. So we gently stir the mixture into the soup with spinach. Okay. And then it says allow greens to wilt for a couple of minutes in the hot soup. I'm gonna nail that. So we're going to, even though I didn't write chopped parsley in the ingredients list, I'll at least write it in the garnish section. So I'm gonna say garnish with black pepper and parsley. Oh gosh, I spelled parsley wrong. I don't know why I can't spell anything. I'm just gonna leave it. Okay. So garnish with black pepper and parsley. And then our little thing of biscuits. So let's see, maybe I'm gonna make a little note down here. So I'm gonna say while soup is cooking, I'm gonna put this little asterisk up here. While soup is cooking, bake biscuits. Okay. So here is our recipe card. Again, some mistakes on this one. I didn't do too great with this recipe. And then there are a few more notes on like how you could do this in a stovetop, how you could do this in a slow cooker, but I am not planning on doing either of those. So I believe that we are done with this one. I'm gonna set this off to the side. Alright, and then I think the last one I'm going to do today is the strawberry sauce topping. And then maybe in a future video I will do the other recipes along with some of the other ones that I want to have cards of. So I'm going to write strawberry sauce topping. And then I'm going to write Sally's baking addiction. So we first need 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon corn starch. We need 3 tablespoons of warm water. We need 1 pound of strawberries, whole and sliced in half. You can use frozen, don't thaw. So I'm going to write 1 pound strawberries. I always take the tops off strawberries no matter what. Like, I literally never do anything with them with the tops still on, so that's always going to be a given. I'm just going to do sliced in half. I guess I could have just written halved. Alright, so it's a zest and juice from half a small lemon. And then C note. I'm going to see what the note is about. Okay, so it says lemon brightens the flavor of strawberry topping. You need about 2 teaspoons fresh lemon juice and 1 teaspoon lemon zest. Feel free to skip the lemon zest if needed. I think that we had ended up doing, I think it was like 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice, and I think that was like perfect for me. I'm always kind of iffy about lemon, so I'm gonna write 1.5 teaspoons lemon juice. And then, so we've got the lemon, and then it says 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. 1/4 cup granulated sugar. Okay. So I think that is all of our ingredients for this one. Super, super simple. Let's go to the directions. So this says whisk the cornstarch and water together until all the cornstarch has dissolved. So I'm just going to say whisk cornstarch and water together until fully dissolved. Here we go. And then place the cornstarch mixture along with the rest of the ingredients into a small saucepan over medium heat. Okay. Place cornstarch mixture and rest of ingredients into a small saucepan over medium heat. And it says using a wooden spoon or rubber spatula, stir the mixture as it cooks. Break up some of the strawberries as you stir. Okay, so I'm going to write stir mixture as it cooks. Breaking up some of the strawberries. Okay. And then bring it to a simmer and allow to simmer for 5 minutes, stirring constantly. Bring a simmer and allow simmer for 5 minutes, stirring constantly. Okay. And now it says after 5 minutes, remove pan from the heat and allow to cool. I'm going to make that another step. After 5 minutes, remove pan from heat and allow to cool and thicken. Okay. So you can serve the sauce warm before it cools completely if desired, or store in the refrigerator for up to 1 week. Strawberry topping will be thick after refrigeration, so microwave for 15 seconds or warm on the stove to thin out if desired. Okay, so let's see. Part of me is like, do I really need to include this? I think that I'm just going to leave that off because it's just kind of like however we're going to end up using it is how we're going to use it. And then there are some notes here, but I don't think I really want to write any of those notes. So that was that recipe all done. And here is our recipe card for the strawberry sauce topping. This one was so simple and it's like really very easy to do, but it was so tasty, so we wanted to write that one out. And then I didn't get to these two today, but that's okay. Like I said, I have some other recipes that I would like to write out at some point, so if folks like this video, maybe I'll just make another video doing something similar. And then here are the 3 recipe cards that we wrote out today, and I want to put them in our recipe box. The first one is the strawberry sauce topping, and I do like to have things in alphabetical order, and I'm just putting it back here in the sweet section. And the last one in the sweet section is our skinny banana bread muffins. I think if I was writing it now, I would have just written banana bread muffins, but I'm going to put this right behind that one. And then we also have the Instant Pot chicken pot pie soup and the Instant Pot chili. So this one technically goes before the chili. And let's see, I think, so we have our baked asparagus, and then I think we've got a couple of others, so like roasted Brussels sprouts, or it says perfect hard-boiled eggs. We never really need this one anymore because we know how to do hard-boiled eggs now. I'm gonna put those like right in between there, and then now they are nice and organized. There we go. That's our lovely little recipe box. I hope that you enjoyed this video and enjoyed watching me write out some recipe cards. Like I said, if you liked this video, just let me know and I would be happy to do another one. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful